Good afternoon, it's Liam Neild here with your MU review for Manchester United's latest Champions League fixture in Group B. We have beaten CSKA Moscow by a goal to nil, and yes, that does mean we have finally scored a goal. After watching United for almost, or actually I think over 6 hours in the end, before we ultimately scored, I was being put to sleep on Saturday, especially against Crystal Palace, and it looked for a long while in this game that we were going to draw it 0-0, or at one point it looked like we might even lose it 1-0. Everything was going pear-shaped, my entire world was crashing down around me, and then the man himself, Wayne Rooney, who's had everybody and their mothers on his back for the last, really, for the entire season. People have been giving Wayne Rooney shit, while he's been breaking and equaling records left, right and centre, and he finally came in and came up with the goal that we desperately needed at the vital time. We'll get to that in a little bit, but the game itself, it was very tense, it was very nervous inside Old Trafford. You could sort of tell the crowd was having a little bit of trouble not getting behind the team. United fans never had trouble getting behind the team, but they were getting very frustrated with what they were seeing. They weren't being brought out of their seats too much. We had a couple of bright sparks who were really trying to get forward, but the number of times I heard them chanting attack, 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 we shouldn't need to encourage our footballers to attack against a CSKA Moscow side that dropped their star striker specifically so they could get a point at Old Trafford, and they very nearly got more than a point. But it was a tense game. Very relieved, even more than happy in the end, just relieved that we finally scored a goal, that we got the win. It was such an important win. This group is as tight can be. I think the top three are separated by a single point, and then I think the other team, Wolfsburg, are 3 points behind. Wolfsburg were top of the group going into this match day, and now they're bottom, and that's how quickly things can change. And it can still change for us like that as well. We may be top now, but we've got to buckle down in these last two games and make sure we get ourselves over the line in top spots so that we can give ourselves every opportunity of progressing further in the competition on our return this season. As far as the game itself goes, I thought we started quite brightly. First 20 minutes we were really up for it, dynamic. Moscow weren't getting a touch of the ball. We could see that was sort of their game plan, but we really did need to score in those first 20 minutes to really sort of settle the place down, because the longer it stayed 0-0, the more it played into Moscow's game plan and into their hands, and they got more and more comfortable as the first half went on. By the time the first half whistle was blown, there was no stoppage time because it was that dire in terms of, lack of goal scoring opportunities and real, fire from anybody on the pitch to really sort of make something happen. Moscow were doing a very good job of neutralising us in the final third. We were having all of the ball as we're used to, this season. But again, it looked like for the fourth game in a row, we just weren't going to come up with any sort of end product. We were a bit unlucky, Rojo had an opportunity, Rooney had a shot that he might have scored in his younger years, but, I'm not going to get on him too much about that with his left foot, from 18 yards on the volley. But we really didn't create too many clear-cut opportunities, and that has been the main concern for Manchester United fans so far this season. Going forward, lacking that cutting edge is something that I'm really, still concerned about, even after the game. Yeah, we did score a goal, but, we should have turned them over, Moscow were not presenting us with too much, and we were holding them off, very well for the most part throughout the game. They didn't pose too much of a threat going forward. We really should have taken the game to them and made it easy for ourselves. And in the end, we made it very difficult, and ultimately, we could have had a disastrous result. If we'd not won this game, if we'd drawn 0-0, that would have been a disaster. If we'd lost 1-0, that would have been, apocalypse now. Louis van Gaal would have been, out the door in the morning or something. It would have been really bad. But, as sort of the second half went on, like I said, the first half, not too much to shout about. The second half was almost the reverse of the first half. We came out just as sluggish as we went in, in the second half, and you just sort of wondered, where is this inspiration going to come from? What is going to happen here? And then Van Gaal gets out his notepad and decides to make a substitution, and who does he bring off? Anthony Martial. He brings off Anthony Martial, who, without a doubt, was one of our top 2 or 3 players on the pitch when he was playing. He's really making runs at people, trying to make something happen, and he was unlucky. He's a 19-year-old kid, but he's got bags of talent, and he really, was having a great go, and I thought if he'd stayed on, he might have, had a couple of opportunities to score. But he brings on Marouane Fellaini for Anthony Martial, and it was almost complete mutiny in the crowd. I had never heard Old Trafford boo a substitution like that, at least not since Carlos Tevez got brought off by Man City. I've never seen them boo a manager's decision like that when he's sitting in the dugout for our team. it was absolutely scary for me, because at the time it was 0-0, and I was thinking, where's this goal going to come from? I was just resigning myself to the fact that we were going to really struggle to get out of our group, and that this was just going to be another frustrating 0-0. But ultimately, you've got to give Van Gaal credit. Fellaini really did throw himself about, and although he wasn't, terrific. He didn't get the winning goal. He wasn't, this vibrant, world-beating superstar. He changed the dynamic of the game, and that is what he is there for. He isn't there necessarily just to, head the ball down and hold it up and do all this stuff. He's there to sort of strike some fear into the back line when they've gotten a bit comfortable, Throughout that first hour, Moscow had us in their pocket. And they were really comfortable, sort of seeing out the 0-0, hoping they might get a chance to make it 1-0, which they did ultimately. Fantastic double save, from De Gea, and then Chris Smalling and Ashley Young, absolute heroes on the goal line to stop, Seydou Doumbia from absolutely ruining my day. And 5 minutes later we went and scored. And Marouane Fellaini, he wasn't directly involved in the goal, but he did change the impetus of the game. He changed the dynamic. And the fact that Leonid Slutsky, the Moscow manager, chose to then put Doumbia on to sort of go for it, sort of shows how bad we were in terms of we weren't delivering any sort of attacking threat. He thought, you know what? Screw it, let's have a go. And he threw Doumbia on, and they for all intents and purposes, they really should have won it. When Doumbia was through, I thought, okay, we're screwed. De Gea makes the save, and you're thinking, okay, maybe not. And then you see Ashley Young running back to cover, and as soon as he slips, I'm thinking, oh my god, this is the game in Moscow all over again, where De Gea makes the penalty save and Doumbia still scores the goal. But Doumbia tries to score, and Chris Smalling and even Ashley Young, after he'd slipped, were getting back and just putting their balls on the line, to get that ball to not cross the line. It was very lucky for us that we didn't lose the game, because mark my words, if Moscow had gone 1-0 up then, it was game over. We weren't scoring. It was a huge 5 minutes that changed the pace of the game. And then a lovely move, it has to be said. We'd lost the ball on the left flank. Marcus Rojo makes a cracking challenge. He had another great game today. He's proving to be a very able stand-in for Luke Shaw. So I'm quite happy with Marcus Rojo, and he played the ball in. And Memphis Depay, who came off the bench, once again was shit. He didn't do anything. I mean, I'm not going to get on him. I'm not sitting here expecting him to be a world beater, but God, he is awful. In these last few weeks, he's had absolutely nothing. He's bereft of confidence because Van Gaal's dropped him for Jesse Lingard. He's dropped a £30 million, top-scoring Dutch player for this, United Academy product who made his Champions League debut this season. And, that sort of hit his confidence. But, this is something that will work out for him in the long run, I'm sure. But he wasn't very good. We got very lucky that Memphis didn't lose the ball, because it ricocheted out to Michael Carrick. And Michael Carrick, who had an absolute shocker against Middlesbrough last week, really made up for it in this game. It's a lot easier for a veteran central midfield partnership like him and Bastian Schweinsteiger to play and control a game when they've not got players like Alexis Sanchez, Mesut Ozil, Theo Walcott running rings around them like they were at the Emirates, a month ago. And he proved it again today why he is still an important member of the team. I know I said in one of my reviews after the Middlesbrough game, I was very wound up saying that Carrick, if he can't do what he was doing last season, then what's the point in having him? He's proven me wrong today, or he's at least proven that he can still do that. It was a bad day at the office against Borough, and he put in an absolute gem of a pass to Jesse Lingard, who was absolutely outstanding. Jesse Lingard was by far the best Manchester United player on the pitch today. He was the only one listening to the crowd aside from Martial when they were yelling attack, attack, attack. He may not have got everything, didn't come off for him, but when does it ever? When does everything ever come off for you? Especially if you're a 21-year-old who's never played Champions League football before this year. He's looking very confident in his ability, and I'm confident in his ability as well, because he played really well today, and he called for that ball. Yeah, Michael Carrick executed it, but he was the one who made that run, stayed on side, and what a gem of a touch that was back into Rooney, who finally gotten in behind that stubborn centre-back partnership for CSKA Moscow and put the ball in the back of the net. Well done, Wayne Rooney. He was much better today. I think Van Gaal changed the system to accommodate him. He played him off Martial as opposed to playing him as an out-and-out striker, and I think that really benefited him. And funnily enough, when he actually did play as an out-and-out striker with Fellaini playing off him, that was when he scored the goal. So, Wayne Rooney, I've never been one to say that he's finished. A lot of people have. I will admit that his performances haven't been great this season, but you can't argue with the fact that he has scored his goals. He's not scored goals every week. They've not been spectacular, and his all-round performances haven't been terrific, but he's got goals. He got a hat-trick against Club Brugge. He got a goal against Sunderland. He got a goal here against Moscow, and he's chipped in. He got goal against Everton, and as long as he's doing that, I'm perfectly content to have him in the team. He doesn't need to score for me every week, especially if he's not actually playing as the number 9. If he's playing sort of off Martial or whoever we've got up there, if he's scoring 10, 15 goals a season, I think that is perfectly acceptable for a 30-year-old, player like Wayne Rooney, who has been an absolute United legend. He levelled Dennis Law's goal-scoring record. He is creeping ever so close to Bobby Charlton's goal-scoring record. And let's face it, I mean, unless something horrific happens to him, in the next, 4 or 5 years, because I do think he's going to stay with United till he retires, or at least until very close. I mean, he might go to the MLS at some point. But, he's got at least another couple of seasons with us. I think he is destined to go down as Man United's all-time top goal scorer, and that is legend status, if nothing else. My man of the match today, Jesse Lingard. As I've already said, he was terrific. He was our best player on the pitch by a mile. Honourable mentions to Ashley Young, Chris Smalling and David De Gea, who combined very well to keep that game from going very south very quickly. And looking forward to the West Brom game at the weekend. I have a feeling it's going to be another really tough game to watch, in the sense that West Brom aren't going to be trying to score that badly, and we're not going to be trying to score that badly, judging by what I've seen over the last week or two. Hopefully we can turn on the style and really break down Pulis's team. I could see them winning 1-0. I could see it being a 0-0. I could also see us winning 5-0 if the floodgates finally open. But anyway, I'm glad that we got the victory. We're top of the Champions League group. Still got some work to do, but let's put a smile on United fans' faces. And I'm a happy man today. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.